everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Today we are diving deeper into the Meg's Netflix series before it comes out or as it's debuting on Netflix. So previously we discussed some of the public reaction to this and the just sort of out of touch vibes that it's having. But another layer to this entire series is watching just how the public has reacted to this in an overwhelmingly negative way. I find it very interesting. The Meg on paper for this series, for this trailer even, has ticked a lot of boxes that in theory would be well received. A small group of close friends that look to be, at least decent length friendship. Positive spin in general. The whole not going for perfection, but joy. Including a few mistakes or bloopers or imperfect moments in the trailer to send a sort of fun vibe and back up the not perfect messaging. Attempts at a happy sort of environment, but it's still not enough to sway the public response. People are still rejecting it. Why? Well, apart from the obvious that she dug a hole for herself that she can't seem to get out of and has a bad reputation as a narcissistic bully and is fake as all get out, aside from that, we see all these elements that, like I said, look good on paper are actually undermined in the trailer itself. For example, her friendship element to the show. It's in direct contrast to her reputation that the public has had years of watching unfold of use and discard. The friends are wealthy types showing up in full hair and makeup and very expensive clothing. When you contrast this with someone else's show that includes having guests and friends come by, like, for example, Ina Garten's show, they're showing up in a more relatable way. Ina is not faking friendships. Some of the guests are close friends, and some of them are people that she invited because she finds them interesting. It comes across much more genuine. The Meg feels like she's trying to prove something through this. Additionally, it kind of makes me feel bad for the guests or the friends because they're serving a great purpose for the Meg. She's essentially using them, whether she's actually a good friend in real life or not, whether they're actually, close friends and everybody's happy in that relationship or not, regardless of that. Public facing, she's kind of using them to combat her reputation as somebody who discards friends as soon as they can't help her out anymore. All of these people can still help her out. They can show up on her show. They can counter that narrative. They can make the Meg look like she has a close network of friends. They can enhance her image. So they serve a purpose. Additionally, some people get taken advantage of. The nicest of people. That's sort of the vibe that I got from the whole Mindy Kaling thing, where she was kind of, sucking up to the Meg, saying it was the most glamorous moment she had ever had, having the Meg give her something or feed her or cook for her, whatever it was. It's a little over the top. It's kind of cringy. It makes me feel bad, like maybe, she doesn't have a lot of friends or something. I don't know. But that's what's lending itself to undermining this message of friendship. It's not just Meghan's reputation, but the fact that Meghan has a lot to gain from having people on this show and give the interpretation or the impression that they're such great friends. The next theme of the trailer or the show is joy, not perfection. This is undermined by all the expensive wares, by not filming in her own space, the over-the-top editing of everything, the filters that they used in post-production or perhaps on their camera that made it look more perfect to the eye, the smoothing filters. The whole thing is got a lot of smoothing filters on it to beauty lights and everything to make her face look less wrinkled and her complexion more perfect, to make the environment look softer and more welcoming. All of these things. It's all, movie and TV magic. On top of it, it's cliche, and people tend to find that inauthentic and off-putting. While she says it's not about perfection, it seems like they all put out a lot of efforts to make it look more perfect. While a happy vibe that tries to lean into a more fun dynamic sounds great on paper, the Meg's execution of this concept is clearly lacking. When paired up with her reputation, it all feels contrived and an attempt at a counter-narrative. And as per usual, a lot of the ideas from the trailer alone look like they've been lifted from other people, other people's recipes, other people's content, which we are covering in an upcoming video looking at just where the Meg got her ideas from. But here's the thing. The Meg isn't, at least not so far, showing us anything exceptional at all. She's not really showing us much in the way of cooking or baking skills. She's doing, at least it looks like, a lot more simple and easy things, which there's no harm in that necessarily. People want simple and easy, but just putting stuff together into different shapes or sprinkling flowers on them or, preparing ingredients isn't really that useful to us. We all kind of know how to do those things and have figured those things out for ourselves just by practice from being in the kitchen for years. Assembling food rather than actual cooking shows a lack of talent and skill. Mediocre flower arranging, plucking berries, sprinkling edible flowers onto things, or freezing them in ice cubes isn't exactly the type of content people need or want. It's really useless stuff unless you're like having a party once in a while, or I guess if you are a fellow Olive Garden mansion dwelling sort of person. So what this show really comes down to then is the Meg's insatiable desire to be the center of attention. To talk about herself. This is a platform for that. To show people what she wants to show them. To create this image of herself that she wants them to see. To tell them the things that she wants to say under the guise of conversation with friends. Unlike other cookery shows or successful lifestyle type shows, the Meg's show here, clearly, isn't actually bringing many of those tips and tricks, because the things that Meghan has shown us thus far are literal common sense. Nothing any of us haven't figured out on our own through normal life. She's just winging it, it looks like. She's bringing in chefs to do much of the heavy lifting when it comes to providing more useful content. And I mean, even just the flower arranging moment alone was like, are we supposed to be impressed? What? And this all leaves viewers wondering, if you have no real talent and you're just a regular lady deciding to pick fruit one day and try your hand at flowering arranging the next with no real training or skill involved, and maybe trying to make regular run-of-the-mill things a little prettier just like most ladies are doing every day, then there's nothing special here. There's nothing to see here. She's just doing the same thing that all of us do every day of life. Why have a show about it? She's not particularly crafty. She's not very well versed in homemaking, as evidenced by the very mediocre results we have seen thus far. And because there is no value or point to it, there's no education being delivered, two impressions have been left with the public. One, this is another elitist moment that we didn't ask for. Flaunting a wealthy lifestyle when the tolerance for it is at an all-time low. Between inflation and all the other problems we all have everywhere that everybody's dealing with, that are much, much more serious, people don't really have the money or even the time to do these types of things, and they definitely don't have the patience to watch it. It all does feel very out of touch, and that lack of awareness that we see the Meg have in many other areas of life, in not just the things that she says and the things that she does, but the clothes that she wears, the lack of awareness to wear this, or do this with your bra and your undergarments. I mean, hello, open your eyes, open thine eyes, okay? We know she can't read the room to save her life, but this is taking things to a new level. And the second impression people are left with is that it truly is the Meg's version of a reality show for herself about herself. It's increasingly clear that the Meg wanted that Kardashian-style follow me around and watch me do normal life stuff like cut a cucumber backwards. But that dream hit some roadblocks for the Meg. Potentially Harold didn't want to participate in that or refused to let the kids participate in that. Remember several months ago, there were a bunch of leaks that Harry and Meghan were arguing over whether or not to show their kids in future projects or to involve their kids in future projects. I believe this is what that is alluding to. That Meghan wanted to go for a genuine reality show type situation, and it was completely blocked by Harry. He was like, absolutely not, we're not doing that in any way, shape, or form. But also perhaps Netflix just put their foot down and said, no, Meg, you're far too boring and far too bland and not likable enough for that. Pick a different idea. Meg doesn't even have a strong enough brand for something like that. So she went with this, which is a heavily scripted, curated version of the Meg, bringing an idealistic point of view like an Instagram on steroids. and people don't want it. Obviously, because there's been far more critical pieces out there than positive ones. And even though she's had some people who were like involved with it or who know her, like Mindy Kaling and like some random chef, come out to defend it, and Oprah to defend it, it's just nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. Nobody wants to hear the defense of this show. Nobody wants to hear other celebrities defending this celebrity over here. Like, no, we don't care. Nobody wants to hear it. On top of it all, she says she's not about the pursuit of perfection. Is that right? Is that right? Then why all the filters? This has a very heavy smoothing filter on it. Beauty lights involved, other filters throughout the whole thing to make it look much more perfect. The vegetables and fruits involved have no bruising, no dirt, no nothing. The kitchen has somebody going around wiping off every little spot every 2 seconds. Not a speck of dust in sight. It's all too perfect to claim it's not about perfection. Additionally, lifestyle and cookery content creators, celebrity chefs, people like Ina, Haida, Gordon, they do not need to tell us these things. They're not telling us that it's not about perfection, it's about joy. They're not saying it because they don't need to. They don't have narrations about magic shoving the message down your throat that they're likable and relatable and they have friends, god darn it. No, they just let their content and personality and talent show you that. So this whole thing really felt like it was screaming the Meg's insecurities out loud throughout the trailer alone. So without the substance and that absence of likability, things aren't looking great for this, really. She already had an uphill battle with her bad reputation, and this will only make it worse. Moments like Mindy Kaling saying it's the most glamorous moment of her life does the Meg no favors either. This type of brown-nosing within celebrity and Hollywood circles has been strongly rejected by the public since COVID, with the whole imagine social media mistake. At the end of the day, it appears that this show will not be useful to anyone who's looking to learn some skills, wanting to learn about homemaking or kitchen things. They're not going to learn anything from this, it would appear. And it also won't be fun or entertaining to watch because it's the Meg. She can't help herself. It's always all about her. She speaks in the most patronizing of ways. She lacks a sense of humor and or charisma. This is going to be as bland and boring as she is. I will be covering it as it comes out and put it onto a playlist I will link for you here. But as you know, I am slow to these things. It takes me some time to get content out to you, so please be patient. But I will be covering it when I can, as soon as I can. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!